buddy, it's time. It's garlic time. We're gonna plant some garlic today. We're gonna plant some onions, do a little bit of fertilizing. You know, just an all around beautiful thing. Now, I do want to say this real quick. I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much. And if you do like this channel, please subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff. But we're planting our 3rd year of grocery store garlic. So this is 2 bulbs that I broke up. And I don't know, I might get a 3rd bulb. I'm not totally sure, but there's a lot of cloves here. And I'm just trying to feel for separation because I really want to get these like big fat ones so we can continue to kind of get bigger and bigger bulbs, as big as possible. But we'll see how it goes. Now, I do want to say this. I had one of the videos I did this year about harvesting the garlic from the grocery store. And I got a comment and it was like, "You're an idiot. You can't grow garlic from a grocery store because it's sprayed with chemicals." Dude, the video is right there, bruh. It says it all. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely had my reservations about it, but after my 3rd, this is going into our 3rd grow with it. Like, I mean, if you think about it, the first year would be kind of iffy, which it was, but the 2nd year, it's good to go, man. We have made our money back on the garlic tenfold. And I've grown a lot of garlic in my day. I've ordered garlic, everything. This is the first kind of set that I've grown grocery store garlic, and it's super flavorful. And the bulbs after the 1st year are pretty big, and we want to continue that. So we're going to get the biggest, fattest cloves from the best looking bulbs and put those in and then start that process. Now, some of y'all might think I'm a little crazy, but we're only going to do 1 row. So it's an 8-foot by 1-foot row. And we're going to get 32 plus cloves of garlic in there, probably right at 32, because I think we put about 4 cloves per square foot in here. So that's enough to last us through the year. While I'm doing all this fun stuff in my garden, let us know in the comments below what you're either planting or harvesting right now, because fall garden should be in full swing. And even if you're getting a freeze, there's a possibility that you're still getting something. So let us know below, because I'm curious to see what other people in other areas are harvesting or planting in their gardens. You know, next year, once we plan our garden, now that we've added 2 beds and we've planned it out a little bit better, we may actually do more, but I don't really need to do a whole lot more garlic. I mean, what am I gonna do? 32 bulbs, you know, we go through about a half a bulb a week. Now, there are times where we'll eat a whole clove at a meal, or whole bulb. Man, I'm getting these confused. During a meal. And we may come up a little short, but that's okay. We're okay with that. You know, last year we were operating really off these 4 beds in this main garden, and then this side bed. And now that we've added 2 in, I added them earlier than I had expected, so it's kind of thrown a wrench in my plan. But we're still gonna get the same amount as we did last year, and we're gonna be happy about it. Now, one thing I do wanna say about this garlic is it's soft net garlic, so it doesn't have to stay cold, but we put it in the refrigerator for about 2 or 3 weeks just to kind of get an initial chill period on the bulbs. I'm in zone 8A in North Carolina, and we have right now, like for the next 2 days, it's gonna be 80 degrees, and then we're gonna cool off and come back up. So we're gonna try and keep the soil cool to continue that chill period as much as possible. It doesn't have to be a constant chill period, but we definitely need to meet the days. And I believe it's like 40 days or something like that, and we will meet it, but this is just an extra insurance that we do to make sure that we do what we need to get the big bulbs. Will not make the same mistake I made last year. I will be planting my garlic in the back of the bed so that my onions, which are gonna go in this bed too, will not be shaded. And on that note, we definitely wanna put some pre-plant fertilizer down as well. It seems kind of crazy because you don't think that you would need to fertilize garlic this time of year, but in fact we do need to fertilize it because we want to get it off to a good start. I mean, here's the deal. I use organic fertilizers. You're going to put this bulb in the ground, nothing's coming out of it just yet, but very shortly it will start to put roots in. Now, what we know about organic fertilizers is it takes time for them to break down. So once this starts to form roots, we're gonna have stuff available for it, fertilizer, nutrients, and especially nitrogen, to get these bulbs off to a good start, get some greenery going so they can make it through the winter. So we'll do an initial planting, pre-planting fertilizer. We always do a pre-planting fertilizer. And then after that, with this bulb, we'll come back and we will just continue to fertilize probably early spring, because they are gonna go dormant. So I always start with 10, 10, 10, and I actually don't measure it. I just put a good little dusting in. I measure it by the handful. I have no idea how much it is, but it's enough to get it going, get it in the right direction. And it's usually about 2 handfuls per furrow. I say that and now I'm gonna do 3. But we wanna give it a little bit heavy so that it has time to break down and it can feed it slowly throughout this quote unquote growing season, which really isn't a growing season, it's the middle of winter. Now, what we do know is the bigger the greens, the bigger the bulb. Blood meal. So we're gonna put our blood meal in at this point. And I just put a sprinkling in. It's important to remember that this fertilizer does not feed directly. It has to break down. It has to decompose, and then once the organisms inside of the soil start to consume it and release it, that's when it starts to feed. So it's a multi-step process. So we're not just feeding our plants, we're feeding our soil and our plants, and that's the beauty of organic fertilizers. We got them all on the ground. Now, one thing I do like to do is I do them in a zigzag fashion. I need to work on my spacing the further down I go, but you can see here, right there, there's a gap. So the sun will be able to come in and hit. Same thing here, going all the way down, we have that. I do need to work on my spacing real quick, but that's how I like to do it. We did our furrows for our first set of onions here. Same thing, double row, 10, 10, 10 fertilizer with blood meal mixed in. Go over here and get our onions to put in. And remember this, if you're putting in 10, 10, 10 and like a blood meal or something, which I believe is a 1400, the first number is your nitrogen. So think about all that extra nitrogen you're adding to it. I put the well balanced in just to kind of round it out a little bit and make it so it's better. And you know, just more nitrogen to go in, because again, the same thing, while we're getting these warm temperatures, I want to go ahead and get our production up on our onions as best as possible so we can get those greens so we can hopefully get bigger bulbs. Here are our onions. We've got this batch right here. These are actually reserved for somebody. They have prepaid for most of them, so I'm actually not going to touch these until after they come. We've got these that are a little bit immature, but they're fine to put in at this point. And again, with the warm weather, they're going to continue to grow. And I think it'll actually help them to get out of these small cells when we have these warm temperatures coming for the next few days. And I mean, even though we're going to get back into the 30s, we're still going to get back up into the 80s and even the 70s, 80s after that. And I think we're supposed to be warm all the way through the rest of November. One thing to remember about onions is sow them heavy in your trays if you can, because the great thing about them is their roots are super tough and they easily pull apart. So you can see we've got 2 different plants in this one. And if I grab another one, I saw like this one here, we've got multiples in here. So we can easily tease them apart because their roots are so tough. I mean, you don't want to yank on it, but I mean, no breakage whatsoever. See that? Bam. Now, truth be told, those onions may be a little small to plant, but I'm willing to take the chance because, first of all, I got plenty of onions. I can start more onions, not a big deal. I just want to see if I can succession plant them and not have anything shade out the other. That's really my goal here. Now, I know that the garlic, for instance, even though it's not sprouted, because last year I planted my onions in January, I believe. But I want to see, even though the garlic's not sprouted, if it'll come up And I know that it'll come up faster and kind of start to grow, because once it starts to shoot over those onions, then we're good to go. So we're gonna keep trying to move this in the right direction. If for some reason we have some failure on this part, it's not a big deal. I still have another couple hundred seedlings over here that are growing. We're not gonna stop them from doing anything, and we're gonna keep feeding them. Actually, it's time to feed those again. But I wanted to give it a shot. I figured today was a good day to do some planting. It's gonna get warm, and we'll see how it goes. But like I said, some of those onions are a little bit small. The ones that the individuals coming to pick up today or tomorrow or something, those are the ones I'd love to put in, but they're hers. They paid for them. So let's see what we can get in the ground here, how many we can fit in. All right, we got a bowl of onions here. So just starting, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna zigzag pattern all the way down as much as we can. And I'm gonna plant them a little bit deeper than I did last year, just to kind of see. And I'm actually gonna give them a little bit more space. This one, for instance, only has one root. We're just gonna hold off on that and see if we need it, we'll put it in. But again, we're not overly concerned about it. We have got onions for days. All right, we got them planted. So we did the same thing. We zigzagged all the way down. It looks right pitiful right now, doesn't it? But I see something I did wrong. And something that I'm trying to teach myself with this drip system is I can plant right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop another onion in. I've got a couple more over here. I'm gonna pick the best looking one since I only need one more. Oh, let's see. What do you guys think? That one looks pretty good. Let's pop this one in. We'll just go ahead and get it in. Now I know what you're thinking, and I can hear the comments coming. Hey, your onions are too close to those other plants. Well, that's bok choy, and they'll be ready to harvest within about a month. They're not gonna bother anything at all. So what we're gonna do is just let those grow out. It'll be totally fine, because the beautiful thing about onions is it doesn't matter when you put them in, if you're putting them early like this, because what causes them to bulb is the amount of sunlight that they're getting. And when I mean the amount, I mean the length of the day, not just how much sun is actually hitting it. So they're not gonna bulb, and that's why we wanna do this succession planting, because I wanna get these in the ground. Even though those other ones are still gonna stay and get fed in the trays, these will still outgrow them, because I mean, you can't mimic actual ground better in a pot. So we'll let those continue, but these will outgrow. Once we harvest this bok choy here, or we start harvesting it, then we're gonna come back in and we're gonna plant the onions up along this row. This bok choy come up, and then we're gonna do another double row here. I need to thin these radishes out. So we'll thin these radishes here. You can see they're pretty thick. And then they'll grow, and when they are harvested, then we'll put in our final double row of onions. And if my calculations are correct, that's 96 onions in that bed with the garlic as well, which is 32 bulbs. So if we did the whole bed of a whole 8 by 4 foot bed, planting them, I usually put about 4 per square foot. Again, you can plant them pretty close. Then you would be looking at like 120 some odd onions. So there is that. Now, just to show you, this is about a month old at this point. And these radishes are, well, some of them are ready to harvest. So we'll be able to pull a couple of radishes here and there. That one's looking pretty good. But once we do that, then we can either put this bed to bed, or we can do something else. And look, one of our bees is getting something to drink. They're the craziest little animals. So there you go. We're still planting in November. It's still warm. We've had our first frost, but it hasn't affected too much. And the only thing I'm gonna do now for this bed is I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna mulch the garlic. I'm not gonna mulch the onions, because I wanna keep the garlic cooler than the onions. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna water it. So I'm gonna turn the drip system on, let it water this bed for a while. I'll probably turn off the rest of the garden. I may or may not, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then I'll even come back with a hose as well, because those roots are so small, and go ahead and top water just to get them up and going, get some good irrigation going, so we can feed those plants and get stuff to start, all that fertilizer, just to get it jump started breaking down, so we can start to feed it. And hopefully that feed will kick in before it gets too cold. Good.
goodbye.